Hey guys, Jake here. We're going to be going over some competitive games that I had in the Team Liquid $100 bracket today. And there are some really close games. I first played against Brian RT, and I ended up winning that match. And I ended up playing Ace in the second round, and I had a tough match against him and ended up losing in the final game. But before we're going to go over those games, we have SushiPayPay joining us right here.
You have Daddy Pepe, and he's gonna help you with this commentary today. It's gonna be fantastic.
It's going to be lit, boys. And before we go into that commentary, we're going to go open up this GC chest that I just got. See what we get. Gold, Minion Horde, Bomber, Battling Ram,
Rip.
Minions. I don't think I'm going to get a legendary. I'm not feeling it today.
Yeah, the commons are like really split up. Oh, that's good.
That's
The Dark Goblin.
3 Executioners. You never get like 8 Executioners. It's always split.
That wasn't bad though.
There we go, 8 clones. Alright, well, I guess we could hope for a better one next time. Let's jump into the first game that we have. This was it's really awesome that Team Liquid has started doing these bracket tournaments. It gives us the opportunity to play different in different formats, more so than what we've been doing more frequently, more recently actually. We've been since 15Ks haven't been prevalent or been around. We've been playing a lot of ladder and grand challenges, which aren't really the best practice, and this gives me something to look forward to. And on my stream, and I don't really showcase any competitive play, so I figured I would show you guys competitive play, and it's a little bit different than GCs. Everyone's at a much higher level. These bracket tournaments revolve around deck building, and it's not necessarily just countering or having the best deck against everything. It's also countering the player that you're playing against. So let's hop into the first one. You ready, Sushi?
Sure.
All right, cool. Brian RT, Minor Rocket versus Minor Rocket. What do you think of this matchup, Sushi?
Is it 8 for 8 or no?
It's 8 for 8.
Really? Yeah. Then obviously it's a pretty even matchup. I guess you guys both start with minors.
Yeah,
No.
we both
Yeah,
start
okay.
with minors there.
Okay, yeah, yep, and you blocked his minor, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. The reason why we both start with our minors there is because if you start anywhere else, it's going to get pulled away by the tornado. So you don't really want tornado as your opening play, or you don't want your opponent's tornado as their opening play to pull the miner into your king tower. Then your miner is just going to get a lot less damage over the course of the match. So
Yeah, if that ends up happening especially at the beginning of the match, the other opponent is basically going to win because your primary win condition, well, you have the rocket, but your primary win condition is going to be your miner still. So if your miner's dealing so much less damage because their king tower is activated, it's almost impossible to win in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. So you guys see that both Brian and I have rocketed out in this matchup. Both rocketing our each other's towers respectively, because that's the easiest way to get damage in minor versus minor. It's really hard for people to break through execution or tornado or even cannon in this matchup. So a lot of the damage comes from either just getting the miner on the tower or the rocket, and that's literally the only source of damage throughout the entire match. See right here, I'm going for the opposite side because I have his tower pretty low. What do you think about that, Sushi? Do you think switching lanes is a good decision when you have the tower already relatively low?
Yeah, because he had that cannon down the other lane, so there would have been no other point to continuing pushing down the lane that was already damaged. So that was definitely the right play. And once again, like Jake was saying, see how Jake's just playing those lone rockets? That's definitely a smart decision because, like Jake said, there's no other really good way to break through, and because the tower was already in 700 HP ish. There was no point in supplementing that rocket with a miner because you can just throw another rocket down at it anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm right now. We both have each other's tower is really low. We know that the tower, each of us are going to take down each other's tower, and we're basically going to we both basically know that there's no point in trying to defend it. So we're focusing on the other lanes and just damaging out with logs or rockets.
Yep. So, in a two-tower game with Miner, obviously your rocket's going to be even more important because the King Tower is going to be activated no matter what. So it's going to be doing less damage. So Jake actually did a really good play there. He kept his Executioner alive with that Tornado and hit the tower and the Executioner. So that was probably what won him the game because because in a mirror matchup like this, the cycles are so procedural. If Jake gets a lead like that, then it's almost impossible for Brian to come back from it.
Yeah, so right here I place a cannon on the side. I don't know if that was the right decision. It was kind of risky. Like, I didn't want an executioner placed in the middle that would go and target my tower. He just completely doesn't do that play, so my cannon was really worthless there. And his minor rocket log was really nice. He took out my guards from full health right there with a rocket log. So that was a really close game right there.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
wow, okay. That was really close.
Yeah. So I guess the moral of the story there is, like, looking from what he did, he almost came back from a really bad situation. When you know that your opponent has guards, you can go for a minor rocket log to kill
Yeah,
to
because
finish the tower.
the shields will get thrown off and then the rocket will kill the guards, so it gets a ton of damage off.
Yeah, definitely. So that was one of my mistakes, that I didn't actually go for that, and I almost let him come back. Regardless, I won though because of that really nice tornado rocket, I think.
Because you're a savage.
All right, let's hop into the next game. Now he switched to Three Musketeers. I don't really know why he switched to this, but let's hop into the game and find out how it went.
Well,
Fun.
yeah, so this is a fairly popular deck that Brian's running, except it's typically seen with a minion horde. So I feel like in a competitive environment, the Executioner is a much more stable and reliable card than the minion horde, so it makes sense that Brian would swap out the minion horde for that.
I I don't get rocket in my starting hand with this zap bait, so
Yeah, that's rough.
it's really rough. Although my deck definitely does very well against his, he he's not really gonna. I can't really punish him, and I kind of just have to play defensively and wait for him to drop the Three Musketeers because I can't really do
Mhm.
anything. Can't be too aggressive. I have to retain as much elixir as I can until he has those Three Musketeers, so I know they're gonna
See,
pop.
yeah, I feel like that log by him might have even been unnecessary because the
Yeah.
Executioner would have killed it anyway, and then he would have had the log to counter some of the other things that are meant to bait it.
hmm
So, had you played Rocket before that, or was that your first
No, that was my
Rocket?
first card, or that was my first
Yeah.
time. But
So that's not Brian's fault. He didn't know that there was a Rocket.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he had no other place to pump. So that was it is what it is, I guess. But now Brian has an theoretically he has an opening here because the Musketeer counter was just used. But
hmm
Jake, like Jake said, this is a pretty good matchup for him. Him as in Jake, so he was still able to shut down the push with a ton of other cards anyway.
So with this deck, you really want to be keeping your Princess and Dark Goblin alive for as long as possible, especially against the Three Musketeers. I ideally would really want to keep, like, I'm keeping my Princess alive right here. You
Yeah,
want
that
to
was a
keep
great example.
you want to keep it on the board as long as possible. You can log, and with in tandem with the Princess, you can actually kill the Musketeers because it'll just push it back, and it will allow the Princess to get more shots. So you don't actually have to rocket it at all times. And so I have so many answers to his deck. Even like his Three Musketeers, when he's dropping that, like, I have Inferno Tower if he wants to drop Knight or Executioner. I can drop Skarmy on top of everything, which he has to pre-log. And if he's wrong with that log, he automatically loses. That was a really great play by Brian there, right there. But like, he doesn't have Zap, so he can't hold Zap. Like, he
Yeah.
has to release the log, which he doesn't actually have anything in his deck to counter. He doesn't have anything to counter my Goblin Barrel besides the Executioner, which if it doesn't glitch, I'm still getting shots off on his tower. But he did cycle back to log there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, yeah. What ended up happening was a pretty common occurrence with Three Musketeer decks. You see that Brian split his damage a lot. So, because the Three Musketeer deck is a very like split up kind of deck, which is pretty unique in terms of an archetype that you're gonna be trying to like go for either lane depending on what your opponent chooses to defend against, because they're usually going to allocate more elixir to one side than the other. So you're going to have to be able to gauge which side of your push, which side of your Three Musketeers you want to support. So that often ends up with you splitting damage, because after you do a ton of damage to one side, they're going to protect that side more heavily. So you're going to have to go to the other one.
Yeah, sometimes even against Three Musketeers, you saw in that game, I had to take damage. You can't always defend each side like fully if you want to actually get damage on their tower. You don't want to over defend, and I think I did that really well. That was the worst situation possible for me, having Rocket last or like not being able to punish him immediately with my Rocket, but it was also like the best possible deck matchup I could have had. So it evened out there, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's hop into the next game against Ace. So the next opponent I had was Ace, and he's rocking a Royal Giant deck against the Zap 8 deck. In this situation, I wanted to go in with a Zap 8 deck because I had played it last game and I felt really confident with it. So that's why I started off with it first. And I also knew that Ace was generally pretty good with Miner. So I know that this deck matchup is really good against Miner because you have Skarmy and you have Knight to block the Miner.
Yep.
So let's hop into it. All right. So what do you think of this matchup right now against RG? What do you think of RG's current place in the meta right now, Sushi?
RG, I mean, if we're looking at lower level gameplay, I think RG is always going to be a pretty good win condition to have in lower level arenas or even lower in in legendary arena. But RG's actually been making a comeback in higher level gameplay as well. And that's due to the prevalence of Lightning coming back into the meta as well. They actually work really well together. So in terms of this matchup, that because he has the Lightning with RG combo, this I would actually say is a kind of tough matchup for Jake, because the Inferno is actually not going to do very well against the RG Lightning combo, and he has the log for Jake Skarmy as well.
Mm-hmm. So right here, I'm just making sure that I don't have my Princess in the same lane that his damage is in. I don't want to have him have the ability to log that at any time. I don't really want him to get off any damage on the same lane that he already has his damage. Trying to force him to potentially like switch lanes at basically any point. I know that it's only 100 damage, but like
It's significant.
it's still significant, yeah. And he's dropping his furnace in that lane, so he's obviously committed to that lane by now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's slow rolling that RG.
What do you think of that Goblin Barrel that I did on that lane? I know that it
I
allowed him.
didn't like it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know about that either. It kind of worked out with him staggering his units, like getting the Electro Wizard before the Royal Giant. But yeah, I don't know. I think.
Yeah, I think you made up for it really well. I don't know if that was intentional, but I saw you place the Dark Goblin and the Princess in one lane,
Yeah.
so Ace would have to be like, I have to log that. That's too much value. But
Yeah.
because he did that, then you just went ham with the Skarmy. You know what I'm saying? So you just completely shut down his push like that. So yeah, those are like really like kind of out of the box plays that competitive players are gonna have to be making. Like, you wouldn't expect to make such a counterintuitive decision as to like purposely like making like putting those two cards in one lane. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it actually ended up working for Jake in the long term because Ace no longer had the log.
Yeah, I had to do that. I was sometimes against Royal Giant. Even with Miner, I use my Miner on defense and don't drop the Inferno. You kind of have to be predictable with, or you can't be too predictable against Royal Giant because Lightning kind of wrecks Inferno now, really
Yeah.
really hard. Yeah. So right now it's a really close game, and I have 527 damage left to kill. That's definitely a minor rocket or a minor or a log rocket, and I get that right there. So
Mm-hmm.
finish it
GG.
off. Yeah, it was a good game. Do you think anything else? Any comments on that game? Anything that you think stands out, or things that
Um,
could have done
yeah,
better?
I think okay. Yeah, in terms of things you could have done better, I think it was mainly just that one goblin barrel, but and that honestly that kind of worked out for you. But the biggest thing was like I think it was helpful for you because I don't think Ace even dropped lightning once that match.
He did it
So
once. He did
he
once.
once
Yeah,
okay
on the Inferno once.
yeah, so that just goes to show like how Jake was able to like switch up what he like how he was defending the RG. It wasn't such a procedural process. So because of that, like Ace never had like a really big opening to just straight up lightning the Inferno and take the tower.
Yeah. All right. So let's hop into one of the losses that we had for our final game. I think that the last game was a little bit better to analyze. The middle game wasn't so great. I didn't really like that matchup, and there wasn't too much to talk about. This one, I think we can really break down a lot of the mistakes that I made in this game. See what I could have done better. So let's
Yep.
hop into this one. This is the final game of the best of three. So it's a minor rocket versus minor rocket. What do you think of minor rocket versus minor rocket right now? Do you like the matchup? Do you think it's stable? What do you think, Sushi?
I'm thinking that you guys have drastically different types of minor rocket decks, and I think that his in this matchup his is favored because he has guards to deal with your minor, which is like one of the best counters to minor, honestly, and he has the tornado. So if he can, I don't know if he ends up tornadoing your minor to the king tower, but if he gets that off, then that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, so he did a better job deck building in this matchup then because he knows that I really like minor-esque builds of
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. So that might have been something I need to consider. I might need to switch up my playstyle a little bit more in the next Liquid tournament.
Yeah, so that Inferno was I don't know,
Yeah.
like it wasn't horrible, but um I mean you're still up on Elixir, but
Yeah.
like it was kind of questionable.
I don't I don't really know if I had anything else to play. Like I don't think I had Night and Cycle or anything.
No, yeah.
So I think I had like Skarmy and Inferno and Log, and it was kind of like I guess I could have like logged it and then dropped a Night, but I think the
Yeah.
Inferno was with Zapate. Sometimes you have awkward hands, and like I think that was one of the best things I could have done. It was just unfortunate.
Yeah, but honestly like that specific interaction didn't actually cost you that much
Hmm.
damage.
I think one of
But
my
yeah.
biggest mistakes in this game was using my Knight to counter the guards instead of using my Skarmy. If I
Yeah,
use
and that
because my Knight
the
is going to die to this
sorry.
Executioner every time, and then look at what I have to counter that Executioner.
Yeah,
I
exactly. It
don't.
wasn't in the right. Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
like you didn't do that in the right order
Hmm.
exactly.
So looking at losses like this, you guys got to analyze what you did wrong in card order, and I think that was a huge mistake. Like, I don't really think. Yeah, I'm gonna drop Knight again, right? Like now, what do I
Yeah,
have for the Executioner?
but you didn't. You had to like you kind of had to use the um, Skarmy for the minor.
Yeah, because if it went two tower game, it would be really rough. I
Yeah,
could have
I
dropped
want to
Dark
point out.
Goblin.
Yeah, I want to point out something Jake just did. He tried to hide the Goblin Barrel that he threw with his rocket, which is actually a very smart play if you're doing something like grand challenges or even lower level ladder. It's actually a fairly good strategy because it can catch your opponent off guard a lot. It's kind of like that old trick where you covered a mini P.E.K.K.A. with minions so they couldn't see it.
Yeah,
So, but unfortunately, Ace was able to identify that there was a Goblin Barrel under that because you can still barely see it. So that was still a really close match though.
yeah. I was frustrated losing to that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
never.
especially because you were 1-1.
Yeah,
So it's like,
it's rough.
yeah,
I won the first game and lost that. But I think like the moral of the story, even though it was a tough matchup, I didn't cycle my cards correctly. Using small things like not having the efficient counter to the executioner right there, I think really screwed me. I think if I had if I dropped Skarmy or Dark Goblin a few times there, I would have been able to counter the executioner a little bit better, and I would have been able to have more elixir to drop that final rocket and take out his tower.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just one example of how like little things that you would think aren't significant can literally just make the difference between a win and a loss, even in a best of 3. So
Yeah.
it's really important.
So Ace played really well in this best of 3, and he ended up doing very well in the tournament. Although Surgical Goblin ended up winning it in the end, but Ace did very well. Mad props to him. As well as it was really fun playing Brian RT, although I did counter deck him in the second game, and the first game was amazingly close.
Yeah, that feels bad.
So this is my first YouTube video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And Sushi, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, you guys should if Jake doesn't like kicking people from his clan, but if there is a spot in his clan, you should definitely go join his clan. He's gonna be staying in it most of the time. And similarly, I've also just recently started my own Nova affiliated clan. So you guys are welcome to join my clan as well. I'll be like cycling out the bottom players a lot. So like if you're decently high and you want to like chill with me or Jake, just feel free to hop into either of our clans.
No doubt. Thanks for everyone that tuned in, and a huge thanks for Sushi for doing this competitive analysis with me. It's a lot different than playing grand challenges and ladder because the stakes for it are a lot higher. So everyone's really trying to minimize their mistakes, counting elixir, not being on Discord, and all of the matches, everyone's thinking about the decks and trying to counter deck the other player. So it's just a different environment.
Unless you're Sushi and you just play Hog anyway.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give you guys a little inside analysis of what goes on in these tournaments. Thanks for tuning in, guys.